Okay, let's dive into something really unexpected today. Picture this. You walk into a federal courtroom, right? A place you expect to be all rigid rules and, predictability.
Yeah, very formal.
Exactly. And then imagine truth itself just walks in the door totally unannounced and flips everything upside down. That's kind of the scene we're exploring today based on the sources you've looked at, set down in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's a powerful starting image, isn't it? And the material we've got really digs into this moment of, well, extraordinary tension. It seems what started as a pretty standard legal hearing for a Christian nonprofit just snowballed.
Right. So the sources we have describe this really dramatic confrontation. It's during a financial misconduct hearing for an organization called the Citizens of Hope Foundation.
And they were known for community work, conservative values, that sort of thing, facing some pretty serious accusations, apparently.
Yeah, financial fraud, tax issues. But the story, according to these accounts, shifts really quickly. It turns into this potential expose of, believe it or not, judicial corruption.
So our mission here for this deep dive is to unpack how that happened. We'll look at the sequence, the evidence that came out, those moments that really shifted the power in the room, and, what happened right after.
We want to pull out the surprising details and understand how it went from this financial hearing to a full-blown corruption inquiry, just based on what these sources are telling us.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in Courtroom 4B, Federal District Court, Northern Georgia. The accounts describe the atmosphere as pretty charged. Heavy with tension, one says. Lots of expectation.
And presiding is Judge Harold Whitman.
Now, Judge Whitman, based on the descriptions, he's a significant figure. Reputation for being stern, very by the book, some might say rigid, also known for an anti-Trump stance.
So, depending on who you ask, the sources say he was seen either as a kind of last firewall against certain politics or simply the law incarnate.
Crucially, though, he was someone used to being completely in charge in his courtroom. Total control.
And according to these accounts, he was gearing up for what he thought would be a straightforward, maybe even quick, hearing about the Citizens of Hope Foundation.
Right. This group, known for community outreach, pro-life advocacy, those conservative values, they were accused of financial fraud, tax misreporting.
But one source specifically mentions that the prosecution's evidence was seen as kind of vague. It sounds like Whitman was expecting to wrap it up pretty cleanly. One account even says he told his bailiff something like, no delays, no dramatics.
Which makes the arrival of this woman, Karoline Leavitt, really stand out. The sources describe her entrance vividly. Young, confident, focused-looking, wearing like a navy blazer, a cross necklace.
And carrying a very noticeable thick black folder.
Yeah, she didn't just sort of slip in. The description's more like a soldier stepping onto hostile ground, not there to blend in at all.
People apparently noticed immediately, whispers, some folks taking pictures discreetly, but she didn't react, just walked in. It says her presence felt out of place, but also somehow fit, like she wasn't there to play by the existing rules.
That demeanor really suggests she had a very specific goal, right? Not just to argue a point, but to deliver something concrete. And that becomes clear almost instantly with the first exchange.
Judge Whitman, described as visibly impatient, apparently makes this sarcastic remark, oh, how special. Tell her this isn't the White House. Her title means nothing here.
Oof, trying to cut her down right away.
Yeah, but her response,
Yeah.
according to the sources, silence. Just raised an eyebrow, put the folder down, sat calmly. The takeaway was clear. She wasn't there for approval. She wasn't going to be easily dismissed.
That quiet confidence seems to have really contrasted with his reaction. And his impatience just ramps up. He challenges her right to even be there.
He says, this is my courtroom. You don't run this show. I do. And then he starts using these, well, pretty insulting labels.
Yeah, like Gen Z activist, a political puppet with a folder full of fiction. He even compares the courtroom unfavorably to TikTok or press briefing. You can imagine the ripple going through the room.
But this is the turning point, based on these accounts. Karoline's response. She stands up slowly, looks him right in the eye, and says, calmly but firmly, with all due respect, Your Honor, the law is not your personal weapon. Injustice isn't supposed to bow to your political opinions.
Wow. That's direct. The sources say the room just froze. You could feel the energy shift.
What's the core of that statement, do you think?
The law is not your personal weapon. It's not just pushing back personally. It's challenging his entire authority in that moment, suggesting he's misusing it.
Wow.
And his reaction is pure fury.
He asks, you dare lecture me in my courtroom. threatens to have her removed, orders her to sit down.
But she doesn't budge. She says, if defending truth requires being removed, then I won't stop you. Then steps forward, her voice getting sharper.
And she lays it out. This isn't about me. It's about a foundation you've already decided is guilty. About evidence you're refusing to hear. About the people you're supposed to protect.
Powerful stuff. And when he insists you're out of line, she delivers that line highlighted in the accounts.
No, Your Honor, you are.
Boom. That line apparently just detonated in the courtroom. Completely flips the script, puts the focus right back on him.
He gives a last warning, threatens contempt again.
And her reply, then you'll be holding the truth in contempt with me.
Oh.
Delivered with what the sources call chilling calm. And apparently for the first time, Whitman actually looked afraid.
And that fear seems to be the signal. She shifts from confrontation to actually presenting what's in that folder. She says she's there to submit evidence the court has willfully ignored.
Whitman, still trying to maintain control, dismisses it, calls it conspiracy theories and right-wing propaganda, insists he's seen the case file.
But she doesn't even argue that. She just lays out the first piece of evidence. The sources call it the Barclays transfer.
And it's described as a printed bank statement.
Not just any statement, though. She specifies the details. A wire transfer, $120,000, dated March 18th, 2024, sent by a company called Atlantic Fund Holdings, LLC.
Deposited where?
Into a Cayman Islands account, under the name H. Whitman.
Oof, okay. The reaction in the room.
Gasps, cameras clicking. One account mentions the court photographer's hand was visibly shaking. Just that one piece of paper instantly creates a huge problem for him.
Absolutely. It's a tangible link, right? Between the judge and this outside money. Raises immediate questions about his impartiality, his motives in this specific case.
And when he tries to brush it off as fake, she calmly points out it has his routing number and signature on it, challenges him to deny it under oath, then, bam, moves right to the second piece.
Which was?
An email, dated April 5, 2024, sent from Whitman's own courthouse email account to someone known to be at Atlantic Fund.
And the content.
The quote is, "Citizens has been handled per expectations. Payment received awaiting further instruction."
Wow, so handled for expectations, then payment received. That sounds very much like a quid pro quo, the timing, right after the transfer date.
Exactly. More gasps in the courtroom. Whitman explodes again. That's a lie. This is contempt. That email is stolen property.
But she seems completely unfazed by his denials.
Totally. Her response is reportedly, "Then let's hear your voice say it," and she pulls out a small audio recorder.
The audio recording. This feels like a major turning point in the narrative we have.
Definitely. She plays it, and it's Whitman's voice. The quote provided is, "Scrub all the citizens' audit files from the docket. If anyone asks, say they were never submitted. I don't want that mess getting into trial."
Oh my God, just openly ordering evidence tampering. The reaction.
Stunned disbelief, whispers, people raising phones to record, an audible, "Oh my God."
And Whitman, what does he do?
He starts frantically claiming the recording is illegal, threatens arrest, but then he just stops mid-sentence.
Why? What happened?
Someone else speaks up. According to the accounts, it's the court clerk, a woman named Erin Shaw.
The clerk, from inside his own staff.
Yes, described as trembling, voice shaking, but she confirms it. I can confirm that. She says Whitman made her delete the audit record.
Oh, way.
Yes, threatened her job if she didn't comply, told her nobody would believe her anyway. Whitman apparently denies it desperately, calls her a liar.
But she holds firm.
Yeah, accuses him right back of lying and using her. That confirmation coming from the clerk, that must have been absolutely devastating to his credibility.
You'd think so. And Karoline had more.
One more piece to tie it all together. She presents a third document, an audit log.
Like a digital footprint.
Exactly, from the court's own internal server. And the crucial part, it shows record deletions, time-stamped the exact same day the incriminating email was sent.
And linked to.
Linked specifically to Whitman's login. She basically says, here's the trail, every move, every file wiped, all points back to your login, Your Honor.
So you've got the money trail, the email confirming the deal, the audio confession, the clerk's corroboration, and now the digital proof of the cover-up. It's airtight based on these accounts.
Overwhelming. The sources describe Whitman just completely breaking down, lips trembling, slamming the gavel like it's a panic button, yelling, "It's all a circus, it's fake."
Trying to blame others.
Yeah, claims it was orchestrated by Trump's people, tries to dismiss her as just a messenger.
And her response.
Quiet, direct. "I'm just a citizen who came with the truth and you're terrified of it." That reportedly just floors him. Physical reaction described knees buckling, looking lost, jaw twitching.
And then he does something really desperate.
He lunges for the folder she's holding, knocks over a water pitcher, grabs the papers right out of her hands.
What? In open court?
Yes, shouting, "No one will believe you," and just starts frantically tearing up the documents, a public attempt to destroy the evidence right there.
Unbelievable. But she had a counter.
Perfectly calm, according to the sources, steps back while he's ripping the papers and just says, "Clear as a bell. The FBI has the originals. That was just the presentation copy."
Oh, wow. Checkmate.
Pretty much. The sources say Whitman just froze mid-rip. Those words hit him harder than anything else. He realizes it's over, he's lost, and crucially, everyone else in the room realizes it too. A huge collective gasp.
And was that it? Or was there more?
There was one more thing. She plays a second recording.
Another one. Oh, so it was on this.
Described as the full conversation. It adds context. Whitman's voice again. "Handled. I made sure the audit never reached the record. Atlantic said the next transfer will be bigger. Just make sure the media doesn't sniff this one out."
Bigger transfer. So more payments planned.
Seems like it. And then another voice comes on the recording.
Ooh. Who?
It doesn't say who, but the voice replies, "Understood. How about the Reed case? Same playbook. Delay, discredit, disappear."
The Reed case. Suggesting this wasn't a one-off, using the same tactics on other cases.
Exactly. The reaction in the room was apparently immediate. He just admitted it, talking about a pattern.
So Whitman's reaction to this recording.
Total panic, calls it doctored, claims he's being framed, breathing gets ragged, and then he makes a run for it.
What? He tried to flee the courtroom.
Literally. Not walked, bolted. A full sprint toward the back exit, according to one account.
Did he get far?
No, court officers stopped him. He tried claiming immunity, but they apparently told him not anymore. And just then, 4 federal agents walk in.
The FBI arrives.
Yep. Lead agent steps forward, announces the arrest of Judge Harold Whitman, lists the charges right there. Obstruction of justice, destruction of federal evidence, conspiracy to commit fraud.
And Whitman's reaction to being arrested.
Still denying, still panicking. Claims immunity again, says he has people who'll protect him, points right at Karoline, accuses her of working for Trump, forging everything.
But the agents just proceed.
Cuff him, lead him out. The scene is described as chaos cheers, some people crying, cameras going off everywhere.
Wow, what an end to the hearing. But the story doesn't stop there, does it? The sources mention post-arrest discoveries.
Right. The FBI doesn't just leave. The lead agent apparently turns to Karoline and asks for the rest.
And she has more.
She hands over a slim USB drive, describes it as containing all the metadata, emails, private memos, internal court server activity logs. Basically, the deep digital trail connecting Whitman to Atlantic Fund, maybe shell companies too.
Everything needed for their case.
The agent's reaction is quoted as, "You've done what we couldn't. You brought daylight to something that was built in shadows." He immediately orders his team to secure the judge's chambers.
And they find something there.
They do, hidden under a false bottom in a drawer. A file box, described as just a dusty cardboard box, no label, duct tape.
And inside,
This is maybe the most disturbing part. 6 manila folders, each one labeled with a different judge's name, a date, and wire transfer amounts.
wait, other judges?
Yes, inside each folder, handwritten notes, summaries of high-profile conservative cases that ended with mysteriously favorable progressive outcomes.
So this suggests Whitman wasn't alone.
That's exactly what Karoline reportedly says immediately. He wasn't acting alone. She even recognizes 3 names on that list. Judges linked to cases involving groups similar to Citizens of Hope, where the outcomes were the same: evidence suppressed, audits tossed, no real hearings.
Do the sources give examples?
They do. A Judge R. Donnelly, March 2nd, 2023, $85,000 received linked to a case where the Evangelical Defense Counsel's evidence was ruled inadmissible. Another, Judge M. Lopez, October 17th, 2022, $72,000 after a ruling was reversed following some anonymous brief.
It paints a picture of a potential pattern, a network.
Her conclusion, based on this, is stark. It's a coordinated network, a legal cartel hiding behind the robe.
And there was something else in that box.
Underneath the folders, they find what's called the blueprint, a handwritten list titled Priority Dockets 2024.
Priority dockets.
It outlines 6 upcoming cases, all involving conservative defendants or religious organizations, and crucially, all scheduled to go before judges whose names were already on that Atlantic Fund list.
So it suggests this wasn't just about past actions, but a planned, ongoing operation, targeting specific future cases.
Exactly. When the FBI agent calls it their blueprint, Karoline's response, according to the sources, is resolute. Then burn it down, expose every name, every fund, every vote they bought.
She's all in on taking down the whole network.
Seems so. The agent acknowledges this isn't just about Whitman anymore. We're expanding this case. And he even asks her to be a partner in the investigation.
And her reply?
Simple, reportedly. I'm just an American, and this is what we're supposed to do, framing it as civic duty, not politics.
So while that bigger investigation gets underway, what happened with the original case? The Citizens of Hope Foundation.
Right. That still needed resolving. They brought in an interim judge, Thomas Reed, described as a respected veteran, known for impartiality, zero tolerance for corruption.
And he looked at the real evidence.
Yes, he reviewed the original unredacted files, the audits and documents Whitman had allegedly buried. Took him about 20 minutes, according to the source.
And his ruling?
Decisive. This court finds no evidence of financial misconduct. The organization is hereby cleared of all allegations.
Wow. So Karoline's actions didn't just expose the judge. They directly led to the foundation being cleared, based purely on the actual evidence.
Exactly. The reaction from the foundation people is described as incredibly emotional: tears, relief, applause. Justice served for them, finally.
And the public reaction outside.
Pretty intense, based on the descriptions. Crowds gathered with signs. Justice won. Truth matters. Thank you, Karoline. Banners saying truth isn't political, it's sacred. Media attention shifted entirely onto her.
Did she make a statement?
Yeah, on the courthouse steps. Talked about accountability, how no one's above the law. Said justice isn't just in courtrooms, but in here, pointing to her chest, meaning with the people.
Did she mention the ongoing investigation?
She confirmed she'd testify and assist the FBI with the whole judicial network linked to Atlantic Fund. Made it clear, this doesn't end with Whitman. Headlines apparently popped up instantly. Gen Z press secretary exposes federal corruption from spokesperson to whistleblower.
Quite the narrative shift.
Huge. But the sources also describe her quiet moments after. Going back into the empty courtroom, picking up a shredded piece of paper with the Atlantic Fund logo, realizing it was over, but it wasn't finished.
A court officer thanked her.
Yeah, respectfully. Her departure is framed not just as a witness, but as a symbol. Resilience, justice, what one person can do.
And she went home.
Quiet ride home. Back to her family son, husband Daniel, who's described as a former Marine. His reaction was apparently very emotional, seeing her stand her ground like that.
What did he say?
He is quoted telling her, "Karoline, you changed history. And you didn't just hold the line, you redrew it." Powerful words.
And she posted something online.
A final social media post mentioned in the accounts. Whitman was only the beginning. The system doesn't clean itself. We do, and we're not done yet. Hashtag justice is not optional.
Really underlining that larger mission uncovered by that file box.
The FBI investigation continues. Focus now on those other judges, tracing the money. The final image is Karoline, determined to finish this, remembering a note she'd written. If we're not brave enough to say it, we'll never be strong enough to fix it. So if we just step back from the minute-by-minute drama, what these sources lay out is potentially huge, isn't it? We're talking about accounts alleging a coordinated network of judicial corruption, multiple judges, big money, an outside fund pulling strings.
Yeah, the material strongly suggests that what happened with Whitman might just be the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It really forces you to ask some fundamental questions about institutional integrity.
I mean, when the very system designed to uphold justice is potentially compromised like this, what does that do to public trust? What are those wider implications?
And specifically thinking about that blueprint, they found that list of upcoming cases, specific defendants, assigned to judges allegedly on this list. What does that tell you, if true, about the potential scale and the calculated nature of this alleged network? It really leaves you wondering, how far does this rabbit hole actually go?